Hi everyone and welcome back to Lucky Loaders 15, where I'll be giving you 3 of my best tips for tomorrow's racing. Now before we get into that, I quickly got a couple of announcements to make. First of all, there is a brand new episode of the In the Saddle podcast where there's 4 of us this week discussing the action coming up this weekend at Wetherby, Ascot. We take a look at Downroyal and also as well Carlisle. On Sunday, I was joined by Mark Karofsky, former jockey Paul Callaghan, who's been tipping in the winners of late on our podcast, and also as well professional tipster and professional gambler Peter Finch. And if you want to listen to that, there'll be links to it in the description box below. We've got all your podcast platforms covered, including the likes of SoundCloud, Spotify and iTunes. So whatever podcast platform you have, just make sure you click in the description box below for one of the links and it'll take you straight to that, and hopefully we can have some winners this weekend. So make sure you listen to it if you haven't done so already. But before we also as well get in the tips for tomorrow, I quickly just want to recap on how our selections performed today. In the end, it was actually a good profitable day for us as we came out with a 6-1 winner. We put up Cuban Pete for Venetia Williams and Robbie Dunn. Held on really gamely in the end. I saw the Tim Vaughan horse, a few of you fancied him in the comments, but he just couldn't get past our selection in the end. He did have, to be fair to him, have a bit of a bumpy race and probably should have won the race arguably. However, our selection was still a credible winner on the day. You know, always goes well fresh and travelled quite nicely for a long way. And I think maybe if there had been a few more obstacles in the race, because they did miss one of the fences at Stratford, he probably would have won by a more emphatic margin. He jumped a lot better than Tim Vaughan's horse today. So at least we had a nice winner there. And also as well, we got a bit of place money with my long shot of the day, geography teacher, there in the last at Seville. It was a nice performance there for Lewis Edmonds and Kevin Frost, but in the end was no match for the winner, and that was the second time we got done tonight by Holly Doyle. The other horse that we put up, Exalted Angel, actually was really well punted off the boards. We put up at 9-4 last night and ended off just touching odds on, but in the end again got beaten by Holly Doyle on Birkenhead. Nothing really we could have done about it. You know, our selection was still miles clear of the rest of the field. He would have been a comfortable winner if Birkenhead hadn't turned up, but fair play to you if you backed that one. That was the first time that horse had ever run on the fibre sand. And also as well, he hadn't been shown too much in his recent form, so it wasn't really one that I could have chosen. But Exalted Angel, no excuses, was beaten fair and square by what looks like an improver now on the fibre sand, and yeah, just bumped into one this evening. And our nap of the day, Killer Clown, who I did fancy to run a big race, was actually withdrawn today because of the ground. I'm not sure why, because he had proven himself on heavy ground before at Ascot and seemed to appreciate cuts. So yeah, maybe Emma Lavelle just thought it was too deep, and maybe doesn't want to get him, doesn't want to give him a hard race this earlier on in the season. I do see he does have an entry next week at Exeter, so we'll have to see how the race cuts up there, but he could be one still to keep in the memory bank for later on down the line. So it's been a good day for us today, 6-1 winner, and also as well 10-1 each way, and fingers crossed we can end the month with a profit. We are just creeping into a bit of profit now for the month. I know for a long while it's been a struggle, but the last couple of weeks our form has seemed to have picked up a little bit. We have been having a few more winners, but obviously we can always do better, and fingers crossed we can end October on a high. So let's get into the first of my 3 selections tomorrow, and we're going to be starting with my long shot tomorrow, which runs in the 135 at Wetherby with a horse called Finn and Game for Brian Hughes and Donald McCain. It's really weird now to say that Brian Hughes is the champion jockey. I still think Richard Johnson is, but it's great that Brian Hughes is the champion jockey. He totally deserved it last year, even though the season was cut early because of obviously COVID-19. However, Brian Hughes is picking up from where he left off. You know, he's leading the Jockeys Championship, and he's definitely going to do all it takes to retain his championship this year. And he's been getting plenty of good rides, and he's riding a lot for Donald McCain at the moment. And Donald McCain's team are in fairly good form. Now, if we look at this horse's profile, I think 12-1 is quite a big price for this horse, and I'm going to recommend an each way bet here. Now, this horse, I think the time to catch him is fresh, and last season he ran his best performance of that entire season by finishing in third place at Haydock. The form of the race didn't look too bad. Bold Plan, okay, he didn't do too much for it. The winner of that race of Evan Williams he was unlucky, I thought, at Ascot when he fell. I think I picked him out to run a good race there. I think I put him up to win that race, but unfortunately we never really got to see him, and then you can forgive his other run. So yeah, Bold Plan, yeah, took a couple of steps backward after that run at Haydock. However, if you look at other horses that were in that race, Honest Fit came out of it, ran a really credible race in the Coral Cup at the Cheltenham Festival, and then we also as well saw him winning a handicap for Henry Daly last week. So that form doesn't look too bad. He's off a mark of 127, which I do think is workable. And if you go back through some of his earlier form a couple of seasons ago, he did run a good race first time out. So yeah, I think there's a lot to like about this horse, and this, in my opinion, didn't look like a particularly strong race. If you go back to even earlier in his career, he's actually a course and distance winner, and I just thought tomorrow, if he can be up there with the front, he's normally a prominent racer, he might just have the freshness edge over a few of these. There's a few horses in here that look exposed. They've already been running a few times this season, where Finn and Game, I think, like I said, the time to catch him could be tomorrow. And for me, he's a slightly big price in this field. And with the yard and jockey, obviously, both in terrific form, Donald McCain operating 24% strike rate at the moment, I just think going to a course this boy's won up before. He's still quite lightly raced. He's only had 13 starts, you know, so he still might have a little bit more to come. And if he's spot on tomorrow, which I think he can be, I think he's a dangerous player in this race, and it shouldn't be underestimated at 12-1. So he's going to be my long shot of the day, and fingers crossed we can get off to a good start with him. We then go to Uttoxeter for the other jumps meeting of the day in the UK with a bumper, which is actually wedged in between the cards. You don't see too many bumpers wedged in the middle of a card. It's normally the last race of the day, if you follow your jumps racing every day. But yeah, going to this race in the 235 Uttoxeter, I thought Fishkov here could be an absolutely good thing for John Joe O'Neill Jr. and Harry Fry. You can currently back this horse at 13-8, and it's going to be my next best of the day. Now, Harry Fry's team look like they're just starting to come into a little bit of form. They're going to be fielding a really strong team at Uttoxeter tomorrow. We're going to see the return of King Roland in these colours, making his chase debut, and also as well they had a double at Newton Abbot today, and some of their horses are just starting to come to form now, and this is the kind of time of the season where they really start to get into the swing of things. And I think this horse, sending him here, is really interesting. Harry Fry does really well with his bumper runners at Uttoxeter. He's got a 31% all-time strike rate at the course, 4 winners from 13 attempts, and some of those horses have been really nice types. You've had the likes of Neon Wolf, who finished second in the Ballymore, or what is now the Ballymore Hurdle, behind Willoughby Court a couple of years ago, and also as well he put King Roland himself here as a bumper horse. So it's a track that he does like to target with his bumper horse, and he also as well like to send quite a few runners here. I remember Billionaire hacked up here not long ago in breaking his tag over hurdles, and also as well he sent some other nice horses here down the past. I remember Americane was another horse he sent here as well. So yeah, plenty to like about Harry Fry's record at Uttoxeter, and this horse sending him here I just think speaks volumes. He cost them £115,000 at the Goff sales, and it wouldn't take a lot for him to be winning a race of this nature. The Fergal O'Brien horse could be a possible danger, but I just think Fishlock, even though he's 13-8, I think he could be a touch of odds on come post time tomorrow. Quite sweet on his chances, and it's interesting as well that John Joe O'Neill is going to be taking the ride in these colours. I remember John Joe O'Neill Senior, John Joe O'Neill Jr.'s dad, actually had a few runners in these colours over the years, and I just think Fishkov tomorrow, he wouldn't take a lot to win this, you know, and sending him here to a track that Harry Fry does well at, I think just speaks volumes. And at 13-8, yeah, not an original selection, but I just think is a good thing there, and is going to be my next best of the day. We then go to the flat action at Newmarket in the final race there for the nap of the day in the 405, and I'm going to go with a horse here called Muscat for Tyler Hurd, claiming 7, riding for Rafe Beckett. Now, I thought this horse was fairly well treated tomorrow. at the weights, and he was arguably really unlucky to bump into Brentford Hope last time out, where if you've seen the race, you will know that Jamie Spencer, who was aboard that day, typical Spencer, never moved the muscle, just showing off his skills to the world, and never asked him for an effort and won cosy as you like on the bridle. However, the pair were well clear that day of the next horse who finished in third place. They were 3.5 lengths clear, so it was a good effort nonetheless by Muscat, and that was in deep ground that day, and the soft ground at Newmarket shouldn't be a problem for this horse, and that was over a mile, and he's going to be staying at a mile, because if you look at some of his earlier form this season, he'd been tried up to even 1.5 miles, you know, and he probably just doesn't stay the trip, and a mile is probably his ideal trip, and keeping at this trip tomorrow I think is a good thing. Also as well, he won here last season as a 2-year-old, so he's got some form over the course and distance already, and race horses have been riding really well at the moment. And even though he was raised a few pounds for finishing second in that race by the one that Brentford Hope won, I still think he's fairly capable of that mark, and I think getting bags of weight from some of his rivals tomorrow and the £7 claim of Tyler Hurd, that's really going to help him, and I just think there's a lot in this horse's favour. I thought 9-2 was a ridiculous price, and I actually think he should be favourite for this race. If I was pricing him up, I would have definitely opened him up probably around about the 3-1 mark. I think he's got solid credentials tomorrow, and I think he is the one that they've all got to beat, and he's not got a bad draw as well from stall 1. So with his stamina coming into this kind of trip, I just think he should be doing his best work late on, and I think he could be really tough to pass tomorrow come the line, and he could be very game. So yeah, this horse Muscat tomorrow, really fancy him to go close, and I just think he's a good one in this race tomorrow on the 4 or 5 at Newmarket. Really sweet on his chances. So that rounds up my 3 best tips for tomorrow's racing. Quickly just recap, in the 135 at Wetherby we go with Finn and Game 12-1 each way as the long shot of the day. In the 235 at Uttoxeter, the bumper there, we go with Fishkov 13-8 win only bet as the next best, and then in the 405 at Newmarket we go with Muscat. That's my nap of the day. You can currently back at 9-2, and fingers crossed he can get the job done there for us. So they're the 3 best tips for tomorrow. If you're enjoying these videos, please remember to give us a thumbs up and subscribe here to my YouTube channel at LuckyLoaders15 if you haven't done so already. Also as well, if you want to follow me on Twitter, the place to do so is there where my handle is at LuckyLoaders15 on Twitter. And if you want to find out a little bit more about myself, my website is www.chrisloaderracing.co.uk. So please gamble responsibly. Hopefully we can have some winners tomorrow, and we'll be seeing you soon.